Welcome to B2B Tech Talk Xvantage edition. Today, we're very fortunate to have very special guest, Sabine Howest, who is our Senior Vice President of Global Digital Operations. Sabine, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nina. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we have a lot to cover today. And because this is the Xvantage edition, and you have been at Ingram Micro now for 10 years, what have you seen? I really want the listeners to know what this journey has been like. 10 years ago, we were a different company, and today we are in this exciting place with Xvantage. What has that transition meant?
Oh, it has been a fantastic, exciting, and sometimes crazy journey, but it has been a journey. And I love your mug, by the way, Nina. It's my travel companion for the past 3 years. So, yes, quite something. I mean, who would have thought that a traditional IT distributor can actually go through such a change, right? A big organization, massive footprint globally, a lot of history of acquisitions with different infrastructure blueprints, people from across all over the world and diverse backgrounds and proficiency. So it was quite a task to even think and daring to believe that this was possible. And I think 3 years ago, it's already been 3 years when Sanjeev came with his vision. It was quite an inflection point then. So what happened is I'd been with the company then for close to a decade, and I was wondering what the future actually was for IT distribution. We had just come out of COVID, and you remember COVID was a strange,
Oh,
strange
yeah,
situation, with good and bad, I think, both personally
right.
and professionally for many people. But the IT industry got quite a kick out of it from the consumer side, from the PC side, the refresh and all those things. But you would really think about how sustainable IT distribution is. And I think when Sanjeev came along with this vision of saying, hey, we can become something else, we can actually bring a consumerized experience to B2B. I thought it was both compelling and it was a sustainable future, modern vision actually for our operating model for the company. So I was thrilled. And the past 3 years have been a rodeo, I have to say, Nina. A lot of things that I thought would never be possible to touch and change inside the organizations have. We've come a long way. We're still not there in certain places, but if I look back, I am quite amazed how far we've gotten from a change perspective. So
Yeah, and it's only 3 years. What has been the impact on the ecosystem? When I say ecosystem, I mean internally. I mean, this is a tectonic shift from where distribution was just a few years ago to where we are today. What has been the impact on our vendors, on our partners as well, and most importantly, on our associates?
So let's start with the associates, because I think they're at the fulcrum of both the change and the impact of the ecosystem that you speak to. And I think our associates have, they took some time to believe that this was going to happen, but we were surprised because a lot of the workforce, millennials, a lot of the workforce, the demographics are actually, if you look at this, multi-thousand employee company, we're responding to this vision really well because you live a life in the weekend that is so digital, and
Yeah.
you want modern tools that work, right? So I think that was from a conviction standpoint that this was the right thing to do for the future of the company. I think the associates have done really well and have adjusted to it and want to learn. It is a lot of change still to come, but I think they were actually believing early, relatively speaking. Now, when it comes to vendors, I think 2.5 years ago, I spent 6 months trying to pitch. I still run vendor engagement globally for Ingram then. And I spent a lot of time pitching this vision to them and the value proposition, right? And imagine what this can do to our business. And it was tough. They wouldn't buy it. And then I thought, hey, actually, that makes sense. They will only buy this They will only think it's real once customers are telling them.
Right.
So that's when we did what we were meant to do, is we really started looking at customer sentiment, CSAT, customer experience. And I believe that's, Nina, when things started changing. It's when the customers started expressing satisfaction with the platform and the capabilities of the platform. They came gradually through, right? So their colors to what I'm saying, from their flavors to it when it comes to countries in terms of what the platform Xvantage can already do. But really, customers started saying, "You save me time. Help me please to adopt, because I see the value and I need my own employees to learn how to use the platform better. You're saving me cost. You're making things easier and more pleasant. You take away monotonous administrative tasks." And I think it also accelerated stuff that IT disties are meant to do, which is, managing orders or entering orders, selling, pre-sales, post-sales. It made a lot of those more administrative tasks of that redundant, so that people could focus on what they were meant to focus on. And I think that's when the customers started saying those things. That's when the vendors came along and spotted the opportunity of doing that. Think of it. For them, we're saving the vendors. If you're in the channel organization inside a vendor's go-to-market organization, you also want to get the data. You want to know what's the pipeline through your disties. You want to see the numbers. How healthy is my business? How much inventory are they taking? Are they going to take a new order from me when? And giving them that visibility and flexibility for their channel associates, then they started also saying, wow, this can really be something.
So taking away that friction, and then also not having to wait till a QBR to get the data that you need to run your business. That's fascinating. We talked on our last episode. We talked with a partner who shared that he was able to place an order. I believe it was with Palo Alto. He was able to get the pricing, place the order in a matter, I think he said less than 4 minutes. It was a $1.6 million deal. And he said, I love my salespeople. And this is what was really fascinating to me, because I wondered, with all of this transition, how are salespeople now engaging in this new model? And he said, these were dominating my conversations with salespeople. And he said, these are people who are really bright. They really understand the industry. And I wasn't leveraging them for all of the knowledge that they had. I was spending all of my time with them dealing with the order. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Percent. So there's several factors to it. First of all, managing an order inside IT distribution in a two-tier go-to-market model is quite something. You can manage one order over years if it's a subscription, over a month. You can manage it through the discounts, through the different pricing logics that are in there, the end user pricing, the customer pricing, all of those things. It's quite an art, actually, how we manage orders. And yes, of course, if you as a sales associate don't need to run to three different departments anymore in order to get the right price, if you don't have to run to procurement and purchasing anymore in order to make sure you get the right inventory on the right time, if you don't have to answer a phone call of the same, not always happy customer about where's my stuff, when I going to deliver it to them, that is going to take away a lot of that weight. It is interesting, though, to observe, because I think every human being has to go and adjust to change in a certain way. If you're a salesperson and you've been doing admin heavy work for years, suddenly having this free time at your disposal to say, hey, go and call some new prospects you've never spoken to, and you don't know their children and their names, and you've not had them on the phone 3 times a day for the last 5 years. That can also be, for some of them it's freeing and they love it. And I think for other salespeople it can be a bit scary, but we do a lot of training. We're trying to upskill our sales force and equip them with the right knowledge. And frankly, there's a lot new stuff to tell. If you've been dealing with your customers and you've seen the pains and the difficulties and the challenges over the years, and suddenly you can say, hey, it's actually rather easy. Let me show you. You go, show me where you are inside the platform. And if you click there, you get your own quote. If you go onto this page here, you will find all your licenses, right? There's lots of cool things also that are easy conversation owners. But that's in terms of our internal sales force, training them, making sure that the customer centricity now is at the forefront of their day to day. That's been quite a task. And it's real time, Nina. Now it's real time, right? So the platform is like you go now onto any other platform, the data is meant to be instantly, right? Instantly there,
Right.
instantly updated. And if there are releases, they need to show instantly next day. And you want to be instantly made aware of what's the new cool gadget of what you can do. So keeping up with that pace, if you're in sales or if you're a customer using the platform, that's a whole new other challenge.
Do you know, it's funny. I spoke with another partner recently who said, I just get excited to go in there and see what's new because every day there's something new that shows up in Xvantage, both in feature as well as from learning. So they're getting to see that transformation in real time. So it's like opening up a Christmas present. Every day they want to go in and say, oh, what's new in Xvantage? What's new with my business? What can I learn about my business from the Xvantage platform? And that's really cool. All right. So we talked about change, and you've mentioned the word change several times.
Yes.
What advice would you give companies that are going through transformation and dealing with change and their associates and, everyone in their ecosystem? What advice would you give them and how to manage that change effectively?
I think you need, first of all, a very clear vision that's been communicated from top to the bottom and made clear and made easy to understand for everybody on where the company is going, why you're doing it, why it's so important. That's the first thing, because if you ask people to just change their behavior, they think you're wasting their times. They're faster in their
Mm,
old ways, right? But if
yeah,
if you explain though, we need you now to do this differently, because think of it, if you start doing A, then we will build B and C, and then ABC together is going to be so much better than your current situation. That's when they understand. So vision, in my view, is the most important thing, that you have to have vision, clear vision from leadership on why we're doing this and where we're going. And then I believe you need high energy inside the organization, and particularly from those leaders who are meant to go and drive this. This is not it's done in a quarter kind of thing. It's not a consultant come in for a year or so and then you're done with it kind of thing. It's not even a normal 2 to 3 years corporate episode type of thing where you say, yeah, and then something new comes up. No, this is just a start to becoming something else. It's a totally new
right.
operating model. Becoming a platform company, if you've been a traditional enterprise for 4 decades, is a mouthful to say. Learning how to do product and accepting software as it is, which is buggy and not perfect and it changes every day. That's a different way of running your business. And you need high energy leaderships at all level of not just executives but management in order to take this through, because often you have to go crawl, walk, run. You have to go 2 steps forward and 1 steps back, and continuously encourage people to say, yes, I know it's different, but look, this is why we do this. I understand it's not more efficient right away, but do you see when this comes through, it's going to get better. So once you've got those two things figured out, clear vision through the leadership, and I think high energy focus inside the people who lead the change, that's an important part. It'll carry the organization, and frankly, you have to get carried inside the organization, because
Yeah,
a lot of people who are in there have not signed up for this, right? They led a good
right.
life. Ingram's been a well-run organization for decades, so you better come and help and carry them a little bit through that way.
So buy-in and high energy, right? You have to get buy-in from all of your stakeholders to be able to see the vision that you see, right? I think you're absolutely right. And I think that the leadership here at Ingram Micro has done a fantastic job of creating that energy. I mean, who has more energy than Sanjeev Sahu? Like, I've never seen or met anyone that had that kind of energy. But Paul Bay has that energy now. I see him speak, I read his articles, and I see that energy now really permeating through the organization. And yours too, entering in this new role with new enthusiasm and
And some
excitement.
wrinkles, yeah,
And
they come along
and a
too.
few, yeah, a few circles, a few wrinkles, but it's fun. It's fun to see where you can take things. How do you sustain that? Like, that's getting there is one thing. How do you sustain it for the long run? Because there's no going back now. We're all this is moving forward, and with AI, it's moving forward very quickly. How do you sustain that energy?
You have to remain fit in a way, and I think your teams go through the normal valleys of change and adoption, and there's innovation, and as you know, right, we're still running a business that is a multi-billion business at the same time, so you have to be very resilient. Do you remember Sanjeev's digitally fit story, right?
Oh,
Where
yes.
he brought a lot of analogies of digital transformation to fitness and physical fitness, and how do you say, and there's in my view a lot of truth in this. So when we first started, I looked at it as preparing for a big race, and I thought, oh, in 6 months it'll all be done. Let's rally everyone's forces, and we'll get through it. And it was super hard. And then once you were there, you clapped in the hand, and then you realize, shoot, this was just the first hurdle, right? It actually carries on, and it feels like you're going from a 5K to a 10K to a 20K to a marathon. And then what comes next? And at the beginning, it's daunting. People think, oh my God, is this the new thing, right? Are we now needing to get scared every week because we have releases and we cross fingers everything is fine? Are we now in this real-time world where suddenly all these things can spring up on us and need to get fixed right immediately? Is this now the new present of how we operate? And yes, there's this adjustment to it. You have to become resilient and be resilient to it. But it is quite outstanding to observe, Nina, how people adjust to when things get harder. You actually get better at doing harder things. And that's when you realize you can run with it and you can actually learn how to manage this. And I think the mental fitness, the physical fitness has a lot to do with it, because sometimes it's long hours and sometimes the quiet periods don't resemble the ones that we used to have, right? In IT distribution, we all live by the quarter ends of our biggest vendors,
Right.
right?
Sure.
By the annual contracts we have with our customers. And now this got all shuffled up. So that is something that the organization itself has to adjust to. But being relentless and realizing you can learn how to do things that are harder, you can learn how to do them better. That is good. It's stretching and it's good.
So be relentless, and instead of spiraling down, spiral up, right? Because
Yeah.
things are going to get gnarly. So try and spiral up instead of spiraling down. I'm going to switch for a second, because I rarely and sadly get the opportunity to speak with female executives. And I'm so glad that you joined me today. I read a statistic the other day that was really troubling to me, that in IT, only 17% of the executive positions are held by women. Why do you think that number's so low?
um, I think they're for sure the factors, the general factors that we talk about when it comes to gender equality. I think all the ESGs, right? All the focus there that we've had there, that's all for sure. It's true. I think my answer, I would rather, what I've observed is that there is an inflection point in the careers of many women, which is maybe their late 20s or the 30s, where they feel like they have to make choices. You can't have it all.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have, a married life with enough time for your spouse, having children, needing to carry sometimes more than 50% of the team at home, it can
Yeah,
be daunting. And I think now with work at home, there's lots of ways how companies have actually managed to give more flexibility to their female associates around working hours, or how to adjust to parental leave and all those things. And by the way, that goes both ways for men and for women.
sure.
But I think there's still a choice that often they feel how to make. And I see this. I try as much as I can to sponsor and mentor female leaders or upcoming managers and associates inside Ingram, and I see that they ask themselves those questions because they say, "Is it worth it? Am I gonna be good enough to actually do this? Am I gonna be able to spend as much time if I take this new promotion? Is the pressure gonna be that big then that I start still needing to perform here, but I fall short elsewhere?" So I think that's a big factor. And then, Nina, it's still a little bit ourselves as well. The change part that I spoke to before, it is daunting, but it's, I think, even more daunting for women who may doubt that they have these transposable skills, right? I've been really good at marketing my whole life. I've proven that I can execute. I'm smart. I'm a good leader. I'm a good manager, right? I rally people around my work. I carry the weight. And they still wonder, well, this is a totally different field. It's no longer marketing, it's procurement, or it's something different. And they wonder, I don't have the diploma. I don't have the experience. You see where I'm going with this, right? And they wonder,
Yeah,
is it good enough what I learned on one side? And I think that's where we should nudge. For sure, P&L ownership should be given as early as possible. That's often at some point a step where we miss out another, pyramid step up, if you wish, for women, when they top in their expertise and then they say, well, you've not led a P&L, so you can't change into one side or the other, or this job requires that you've had led a P&L. You go like, well, I managed a huge budget. What's the difference here? It's not a P&L. So you still get that a little bit. I think that's more old fashioned now, frankly. And I think people
right.
should get more judged on their own performance. But women sometimes don't do themselves enough favors by saying, I can learn, right? I can even go back to school if you give me the time and allow me to certify. I can do this. My manager, if you have my back and we agree that for 6 months I may need to learn something and I may just not be smart and I may come to you more than I usually do, I can do this. And I think that's still something where sometimes men are a bit bolder, and I believe and I hope that the confidence part is still important. Hey, Nina, I had someone we both knew who used to work at Ingram and who now works for a great Silicon Valley AI company in a very senior, most senior finance organization. And she lately said to me, she said, Sabine, do you know that the question women ask themselves, as in, can I really do this? Like, am I good enough? Is that, am I,
Am I
I'm
good
not,
enough?
do I have it in me? It still remains the biggest doubt, right? So, a lot of those things are not society. Yeah.
Yes, it can be our own worst enemy, that little voice in our head that says, I'm not good enough. We're beyond good enough and beyond capable, but just given the chance and the opportunity. This has been absolutely delightful, insightful, and just a great opportunity to see you again and hear how you're doing. So, Sabine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Miss Nina, it's a delight. It's always so nice to see you and to hear you. Thank you so much for having me today and the opportunity. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And where you are, I will say have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Impactful global engagements, iconic entertainment experiences, and memorable networking opportunities. Be part of it all at Ingram Micro One 2024.